Now we've set up and installed DarkBASIC Professional, we've activated it, and now we're ready to use it. So we have the main window here, which is referred to as the IDE, that stands for Integrated Development Environment. Basically, it's a text editor that passes along source code to the main compiler, but it does have a lot of neat project management facilities that will help manage and maintain your projects. The first thing you'll see when you load up the editor is that the screen is split into two main sections. On the left hand side you have the text editor. This is basically where you type in your commands. As you can see. And then on the right hand side you have the DarkBASIC Professional Assistant. This is basically the help file to help get new users up and running quicker. So it's worth reading through all this, especially if you're new to the software. And it's quite convenient having it split like this, because you've got your commands on one side and you've got your help on the other side. So if you want to find out about a specific command, you can click on commands, go to core commands, pick something like sync on, and it will give you a list of, well, not a list, but a full description and some source code to demonstrate its use. So if you're not familiar with DarkBASIC Professional's command set, then this is a very good way of learning quite quickly. It's like most help file systems. It has a home button, back button. You can copy text to the main clipboard and paste it into the editor, or you can do it itself. It will, if you click on this button, it will copy it automatically for you, and if the command has some example code attached to it or a project file, you can click on open accompanying project, and that will basically load it into your main text area. You have a few other buttons here. This will take you home, this will take you to the main command menu, this will take you to examples, this will take you to the technical documents, and this will take you to the index. You've got a little find bar here that allows you to search the documents for text. So if I type in cube, I can find all commands with cube in it. So as I say, for someone just starting off, this is a very good way of navigating the help system. You also have a little bar here, sorry, a little icon here that allows you to swap sides if you decide you want it on the left hand side instead. Personally, I like it where it is, so I'm just going to leave it there. You can also adjust the amount of space it takes by dragging this bar back and forth. So now the question is, how do we make a new project? There's one of two ways of doing it. You can either click on the first icon on the toolbar here that will create a new project for you, or you can click on File and click on New Project. You will then be presented with three different options. You've got Auto Configure New Project, so if I type in Hello World there, when I click on OK, it will basically create a folder in the projects directory. So if I go in there, you've got projects directory in there. As you can see, it's empty. Normally there's some example files in there, but for the purposes of this demonstration, I've removed them. So I'll just minimize that. So we've typed in Hello World. We've got the option here to actually specify a folder rather than have it create one, or we can create a new blank project, which basically means it hasn't created any folders or any project data. It just exists in the ether until you save it. It doesn't have a home. Then you've got two options over here. Use project view mode is the standard one for most people to use. That will basically replace the DarkBASIC Professional Assistant window here. Or if you want to use the assist view mode, you can do, and that will keep the window there. For the purposes of this demonstration, we'll move over to the project view mode so I can go through that with you. So if I click on OK now, we don't want to save. There we go. We now have a window of text. Now don't worry about the rem comments, sorry, the rem command there that basically sets up a comment in the program. If it's grey like that, it won't be compiled, it won't be executed, it's simply there for your own notes. But what we need to look at now is if we go back into our projects folder, you'll notice there's now a new folder there. If you double click on that, you've now got two files in there, both named Hello World, which is obviously what we called our project. Now the two files are the .db pro file is the project management file that doesn't hold any source code. What it does is manage multiple source code files by keeping a list to be loaded whenever the project's loaded. It will also store multiple settings. It will things like how you want your program to be compiled, what sort of data you've entered in there, and lots of little notes. Basically, as I go through the project summary window, you'll see the sort of things that it saves. The DBA file is basically a source code file. You can have more than one of these, which I'll show you in a little bit. I'll close that window now. Don't need that anymore. And I'll start going through the project summary window. The first thing you'll see under the project summary window is the name of the project, Hello World, which we've already set up. Now you can change this quite happily without worrying about it changing the directory structure. So if you call it Hello World 2 whatever, it won't change the folder name, it won't change the file names, it's just something that's stored in the program internally. Exe file name, helloworld.exe. Again, this is basically is used to create an exe file once the program's compiled. So once you've finished writing your instructions into the editor and compiled it, it will be called helloworld.exe. You can browse here. If you click on that, you've got a standard open dialog box, and you can type in the file name and click on save, and it will choose a new file name for you. Project comments, this is just for your own personal notes. So I want to make a program, exclamation mark. So when I save the project file, that will be stored with it. Then we got a to-do list. You right click on that, click on add item, and add an item you want to do. I want to write Hello World to the screen. Now I see I've made that very long, and it will go off the side depending on the resolution and the width of your project summary. Now, unlike the assistant view mode, you can't scale this, it's fixed. So if you go off the edge, then tough basically. You either have to make it shorter, or you can edit it by clicking on this. As you go, we now have, so there we go, we now have something shorter that fits in there. You can add multiple items. And as you go down the list and you achieve things, you can put a tick in to remind yourself that's what's been done, and this is what you've got to do. Okay, so the next thing we need to do is there are several views to this pane here, as shown down by these 9 buttons. So if we click on settings, you will be presented with the configure exe settings window. Now if you compile your program to run in a window like the IDE does, then you've always got text across the top there. If we compiled our project at the moment, it would just say DarkBASIC Pro Project. If we type in Hello World, then when we compile it, we'll have Hello World in the caption bar across the top. Then we have exe file settings, normal exe, small, that's basically just an exe using the existing file structure that's in the project folder. Then we have small exe and pack file. Using the media button, which I'll go into in a minute, you can add media such as sound, graphics, that kind of thing, and include them all inside the program. Rather than carting around lots of separate files, you can put them all into a pack file and an exe file, and then just put them on a disk and send them over without having to copy lots of files over. Or you've got an installer type of exe, which will basically install the file to the user's machine. Exe and attached media. This basically means that it's one big exe file. You won't get any BMP files or media files of any kind, providing you set it up correctly. It will all be inside one exe. You can then compress the attached media to make all the models smaller, make the exe smaller, or you can encrypt them to try and protect them a bit. It's not perfect, but it will provide more protection than if you just give a naked file structure. Okay, then we have display settings. Full screen exclusive mode. I very rarely use this. It basically takes over the display driver and forces the program to focus on the DarkBASIC Professional code only. So it's literally exclusive mode. It will create its own display mode. Then you've got window, which is basically what the IDE is. You can run your program from within a window. Full desktop, it's still windowed. Sorry, you've got windowed desktop. It's still windowed. You'll have a caption bar across the top, but it will be expanded to the entire desktop. Then you've got window full screen. That's without the caption bar across the top, but again, it's still in window mode, so it's not exclusive. It won't change the resolution. And then you've got hidden. Hidden will basically be no windows or no displays at all. So if you need something that works in the background, this is the option you use. I should say that exclusive mode will change the resolution. So if you type in a resolution here, if you click on that button, you've got a number of resolutions you can change to, depending on what your computer supports. You can just click on another one, or you can use a custom value. You've also got color depth here, so if you want to display in full 32-bit color, you need to click on there and then click on OK, and that will now display at a higher resolution with 16 million colors. As I say, this will literally force the screen to change resolution, so everything will look perfect. If you've got a desktop window mode open and you change the resolution in that, you may end up with distorted, strange graphics. But again, I tend to use the window mode as standard. So the next one is to click on Edit. This will basically contain all the file information that is encoded into DarkBASIC Professional when you compile the exe. So if anyone looks at the exe and looks at the data within the exe, this is what they'll get. They'll get company name, file description, file version. So anything you type in here will be compiled directly into the exe. The next button down is Files. This is basically where you manage your source code files. Your main source code file is where all the initial instructions are read from, so this is where you have to start setting up the program. Even if you pass it over to another source code file, it will have to be passed over from this file. So the main source code file is quite important. You can add additional source code files. This is very useful if you've got massive projects or big projects that need to be broken down into smaller sections to be more manageable. So if you've got a lot of functions, you can put all of those in a file. If you've got a lot of subroutines, you put those in a file. If you've got a specific area of the program that does a specific job, like create textures or make a set of models, or even just contain combat data for your characters, you can add it all in there and give them nice logical file names like combat.dba, and that way you'll be able to manage your data a little bit more effectively. So if we add a new one here, we can type in second source code file.dba. That's something I've typed in previously. Click on save. It will now be added to the list. Now if I want to delete it, I highlight it and I click on delete. Now the one thing to remember about delete is it doesn't delete the file, it just merely removes it from the program list. It won't be compiled and it won't be included in any compiling, but it will still exist. So if we click on browse, we have the file here, so if I double click on that, it's back again. So that's basically how we manage our files. If you double click on it, then you will look at it. If you double click here, then you'll go back to your old project file. You can also swap project files by clicking on this drop down list here. The next button we'll look at is functions. This is basically a list of declared functions within the program. So I'll describe what functions are later on in the tutorial set. For the moment you don't need to know what they are, this is merely a way of tracking them. So if we type in function, my function there, as you can see it appears in the list. So if I was to take that and copy it a few times, as you can see it will appear. So you got the name of your function there, and you got the line of which it appears. If you wish to go to the function, you just double click like that. While I'm on this functions, you can click on view here. If you click on fold all functions, you have to click on it a second time to update it. It will literally collapse all the functions into a tree style list. So as you click that, it will make all the commands between function and end function disappear. You will notice down here you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, then it skips 7 and 8 and goes on to 9. That's because 7 and 8 are being included in the function and just folded away more tidily. It allows you to see what's there without having to go through oodles of data. Again, if you click on view and click on unfold functions, it will expand the tree so you've got all your functions listed. So we'll delete that now. The next button of interest will be labels. Now, any old hats at basic programming who come from the BBC Basic or STOS days or even GW Basic will remember that in order to go to an area of a program you had to know the line number. This isn't the case in DarkBASIC Professional. We use labels instead. So if I type in my label and put a colon after it, that is basically a point in the program we can return to. So if I wanted to go back to line 6 in the program, I've labelled it my label, and I simply type in go to my label, and you don't need to put the colon in, that's only for creating them, and that will then go back to line 6 in the program. Obviously if you're using a go sub command, it's my label followed by return. So if you wanted to go to a label there, you would type in go sub. Whoops. That would then go to my label, run all through the instructions between those 2 points, and then return to line 10 again. So again, I'll go into this sort of thing in more detail later on. So we'll delete that. Next we have variables. Now to declare a variable, you can't just go my var equals 3. It won't show up. That isn't declared as far as the program's concerned. When it says declare, it means specify it as a type. So my var as integer will appear. My var 2 as float will appear. Again, it works in the same way as function labels. You got a little number here, double click and it will go to that point in the program. I'll explain variables and what declaring them means at a later point. Then we go on to the media button. This is basically where you add media into the exe ready to be compiled. So if you click on add and then click on browse and select any from of these formats, 2D, 3D, animation, music, sound, it will then be imported into the project. It will actually copy the media into the project directory if you haven't already got it in there by clicking on this button here, pushing a little tick in there and then clicking on OK. So when the exe is compiled, anything in this list will then be put into the exe. Cursors basically relate to mouse cursors. So if you're creating a fantasy game and you want a sword instead of a standard Windows mouse pointer, you can include them in here and then update the mouse cursor with them. Icons here will allow you to add an icon to your main compiled program. So if you don't like the DarkBASIC Professional standard icon, which is a little black square with a yellow pyramid on it, then you can include an icon or BMP file here. It will then compile that into the exe, and you can have something like a sword or a man or a crown or whatever you want. Often overlooked is the status bar at the bottom. You've got main here, you've got C1 and R6, and you've got the line number, and you also got an indicator that says whether cap lock is on or off. There you go. So if it's on main, that basically means you're on the main source code. If you go into second source code file, you'll see it's got include in there. That means it's included along with the project, but it's not the main file that it's executing from. So if we go back there, it says main. C basically stands for column, R for row. So we're currently on row 6, space, space, space. We got column 4, column 5, column 6. So it's literally just like a spreadsheet or a graph. Obviously, if you go down a line, then you've got different lines. Okay. Next, we'll take a quick look at the menu bar across the top. We got a new project button here, which we've already looked at. We've got open project, which will allow you to open an existing project. We have save source code. This will save the source code, but only the file that's currently open. It won't save any others. If you want to save everything, project file and source code and everything that's open, you just click on that button there. You've got cut, copy and paste. You've got undo and redo, which is quite useful. A number of mistakes I've made in my career. So type in something there, decide you don't want it, click on that, get it back if you decided you really do want it. There we go. We can search for a piece of text throughout the program, so it's very useful if you're trying to find a specific line of commands. You've got search and replace, which will basically allow you to find a piece of text here and replace it with anything here. You've got the direction it searches, so you can search forward or back through the program, or you can search from the cursor or the entire scope of the program. If you've got some highlighted text, then you can only search in that area by clicking on that radio button, or global means it searches everything regardless. You've got options to make it case sensitive, whole words only, regular expressions, prompt on replace. Basically means every time you replace something, it will ask you, are you sure you want to replace that? We got OK then, we got replace all to do it automatically, and we got a cancel button, which is normal. These are probably the most important. We've got this will compile a program, but it won't run it, so you'll just make an exe, you won't get anything else. Exe and run, that will basically create the exe and then launch it afterwards. Run in debug mode, this provides a number of tools for debugging your software. I'll go into that in more detail at another time. We've got step through step mode. That basically allows you to step through the program line by line. This can be useful if you're trying to track down a problem, and again, it's another debugging tool, and we already know about this drop down menu here. Let's have a look at the file menu now. We've got new project, which we've been through. We've got open project, which is the same as the button I just showed. We've got open source, which will open a source code DBA file. We've got reopen old projects. We've got save a project, which will save the project file. That's a DB profile, but nothing else. Save project as will allow you to make a duplicate under another file name. Save source will save the source code. So it'll only save the DBA file, it won't save the DB profile. Save source as, again, it will save a copy of the source code that's open. Save all is the one that I use all the time. It saves everything in the project file and the source code. Close will close the current window. Close will close all windows. Remember here, we've actually got more than one window open. We click here, as you can see, we've got more than one source code window open actively. So then we've got close all. Again, we'll close all the windows. Print is fairly self-explanatory. It will print the source code on the screen, and again, we all know what exit does. We move on to edit, and we've got the undo and redo commands. We've got cut, copy and paste, which we've already been through. If you want to delete a block of text, for instance, we'll highlight this, click on edit, then click on delete block. That will delete everything. Click on undo to get it back. You can select all in the program, and you can delete block, and again you can undo it. Toggle breakpoint is something you use in debugging, so that's not something I'm going to go into great detail here. You can also set a bookmark, so if you've got an area of the program that's giving you problems, or you need to frequently go back there, or you need to frequently change an area of a program, you can actually set a bookmark here, and then you can go to a bookmark using this menu here. So edit will set, search will find, and that's it for the edit menu. Then we've got find, find and replace, find again and find and replace. Again, we've been through these. Go to line will find a line of the program, so if I want to go to line 1, it will go there. If I want to go to the line, whoops, if I want to go to line 2, it will go there, and you can move up and down them that way. And that's basically the search. Then you got view, show toolbar. If you want to increase your workspace, you can disable it, or you can turn it back in. You can do the same with the project manager here. Put it back in. You've got a list of toolbars. You can turn them off individually. So if I want to get rid of the file area, as you can see, the icons have gone. If I want to bring them back, then I just put the tick back into it. Display mode. Every time you change this, it has to close a project and reload it again, so you're better off just sticking to the project view mode and pressing F1 to get your help file up. So for instance, if I press F1 here, as you can see, everything that was in your assistant view earlier, it's provided in another window. It's also worth noting very quickly, if I type in a command and then press F1 on that command, it will then bring up a window relating directly to that command. So this will now give you all the details you need about print, the description, how to use it, etc. So there you go. We've been through the fold and fold all functions. We've been through the fold and unfold functions now. This is probably the most important one again. Again, it's the same as the 4 icons we just went over. Check syntax, make exe in run in debug mode, run in step mode. Tools, this will basically cover system tools. So you can change a lot of the settings here. To be honest, I wouldn't touch these. You don't need to. It just gets needlessly complicated if you do. So I'll leave these alone. We've seen what window does. I showed you the cascade option. You can tile it horizontally, or you can tile it vertically. It's a good way of managing your projects. Sorry, your open source code windows. Then you've got help, which is what we just saw, the F1. Help content. Again, it just takes you to a different area of the help file, as you can see. Last help file, this will take you to the last place in the help file. So if I go to if I go to the index and I pick a command and then I close it and I can't remember what the command was I wanted, I can just go back to last help file and it will bring up the last command I looked at, or the last help page I was looking at. Then we got index, which will take you to the index of the help file. DarkBASIC Professional Home, this will take you to the DarkBASIC Professional page. If you want to check for the latest upgrades, you just click there. It will take you to the DarkBASIC Professional Upgrades page via your web browser. And this will take you to the Game Creator's Home. This About button is useful because it tells you which version of DarkBASIC Professional you're actually using. As you can see, we're using version 1.07 at the moment, so we'll click on OK. And that is basically the DarkBASIC Professional interface. Now that we know about and how everything works, we're going to start by making our first program. So this is going to be a very simple program. It's the most classic one that everyone learns who learns BASIC or any other program language, and that's how to display the words hello world onto your computer screen. So we type in print space quote hello world close quote, press return. Now we need to put in another command here, because if we just compile it, what will basically happen is it will display hello world, then the program will end. So if I click on this button here, or you can press F5 on your keyboard to compile and run, it will build your program, and that was it. Nothing happened as far as you're concerned. But what really happened is it quickly showed hello world and ended so quickly that you didn't notice. So we're going to type in another command, wait key. This will basically wait for us to press any key on the keyboard, and until we do, the program will just stop. It won't do anything, it won't progress. So we'll click on this or press F5. And as you can see, we have a program here with the words hello world printed. And you just successfully compiled your first program. The final issue I'm going to cover is the color scheme in the DarkBASIC Professional Editor. There are basically 4 colors. There's grey, which is created when you create a remark in the project. As I mentioned before, this isn't compiled into the main program when you hit F5. It's merely for your own reference. Then you have blue, which indicates that a command has been typed in. For instance, if I type in print, it will turn blue automatically. If I type in make object, it will turn blue. If I type in make object, cube, it will turn blue. This is very useful because it will allow you to see instantly whether or not you spelt a command right. It's I can tell you from personal experience, in the older languages that didn't do this, you could sometimes spend hours and hours going through a program trying to find that single command you misspelt. It's a very useful feature. The next type of data that will show up as a colour is a string variable, but this will only appear if you put quotes around it. So if I type in hello world, you'll notice it's in purple. This basically means that this is a piece of string data you're passing directly to a command. And the final colour, well, the final but one, is numbers. Numbers will always show up as green, so again, if you're looking for a number in a program, you can easily identify it. The last colour probably isn't regarded as a colour at all, but it is really, is black. So if anything's in black, the chances are that it's a variable name. Because it doesn't appear under the command list, it won't show up as blue. Because it's not in quotes, it won't show up as purple, and because it's not a number, it won't show up as green. So if I want to assign a number to a variable, so my var equals set random numbers, you notice my var is in black, so you'll instantly know that anything in black is almost certainly a variable. If not, then it's probably a spelling error of some kind. Again, the same thing happens for a string variable. See, as soon as I put a $sign after it, indicating it's a string variable, which I'll go into more detail later, yeah, it's still black. So, as you can see, there are 4 different colours. There's grey for remarks, blue for commands, purple for direct string data, green for direct number data, and then black for variable names. So once you learn this code, or this pattern of thinking, then when you come to looking through your code and looking for an area that's given you problems, your eyes will naturally be drawn to either the command name or the variable data or whatever you're looking for. So it's a very useful feature and something that would have saved me a lot of time had it been around around 1985 or even the late 1990s. So anyway, enough about the DarkBASIC Professional IDE. It's time to actually get into programming so you learn how to use the language.